Module 10, the oxygen cycle. Another important part of the physical environment in an ecosystem is oxygen. Almost all creatures in the world need oxygen to survive. Now, the air you breathe contains about 21% oxygen. Most of the rest of air is composed of nitrogen, which you cannot utilize, but its presence is very important in maintaining living things. The rest of the gases in air are in very small quantities, but are also necessary to support life. Because the amounts of these gases are important, it's critical that their percentages remain the same. But if most living things require oxygen to survive, how come the oxygen percentage in air isn't constantly decreasing? This is because there's a delicate balance in creation so that the oxygen that is used up is constantly being cycled back into the air. It's called the oxygen cycle. First, let's discuss the forces that take oxygen out of the air. Aerobic creatures on land and in the ocean need oxygen for their life processes. Remember, this is called respiration. Naturally occurring fires also use up oxygen. When metals rust, they use oxygen too. And the sun takes oxygen gas and converts it to ozone, thus reducing oxygen levels and increasing ozone. This is kind of interesting because it is this ozone formed by solar energy that is what comprises the ozone layer, a layer around the Earth that actually protects it from the harmful rays of the sun. Now, if that was all of the story, the levels of oxygen in the air would continually decrease and living things could not survive on Earth. But there are processes in creation that create oxygen too. The biggest contributor of oxygen in the air is photosynthesis. Land plants and phytoplankton in the ocean are responsible for a majority of oxygen production, taking in carbon dioxide gas and using water plus solar energy to produce glucose and oxygen. So, to produce oxygen, photosynthesizers need water, which, as you just learned, is a carefully balanced part of the physical environment too. Therefore, the water cycle and the oxygen cycle have important connections to each other. Though photosynthesizers produce oxygen as a result of photosynthesis, they also need to take in oxygen for respiration. Remember, to break down the glucose that they make, they have to use oxygen from the air. So they make oxygen and they use oxygen. But they actually make more oxygen than they use. You just need to remember that they produce it and they use it too. Additionally, some oxygen gets replenished when sun rays hit ozone molecules in just the right way to break them up. Water vapor suspended in air can also be decomposed into hydrogen and oxygen atoms when it is hit by certain rays too. Again, you can see an interconnection between the water and the oxygen cycle. So to sum up, the major contributor of oxygen is the photosynthesis of land and ocean organisms. The major user of oxygen is respiration of all living things.